right, let's get started then. I will call to order the September 16th, 2020 meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. We will have a roll call at this point. Director Krieger.
Here.
I'm sorry, did I hear you?
Yeah, is it here?
Yes, thank you. Director Yasbeck.
Here.
Director Brake.
Present.
Director London.
Here.
Director Baglio.
Here.
Director Riley.
Here.
Director Rossbach.
Here.
And I am here. Okay, so we'll get started right away. I believe we have one public comment. Tim, I know you sent us an email. Are we going to hear that, or is that just?
Yep. Carol, do it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Director Riley, 1 second, and I will play that for you.
This is Carol Hennessy from Royal Oak. I'm calling about the flowers, excuse me, the flowers hanging around the city downtown and all the flower boxes. It brings some cheer to the city during this pandemic. I just want to say it looks really nice, and it was different this year because all the hanging baskets were the same color. I like that. That was pretty neat. And thank you for doing that. And also, I had talked to Mr. Sophia in regards to the Christmas parade, and he said when I talked to him, he wasn't sure what was going to be going on. So anyway, I had some thoughts about the Christmas parade if you're going to have it. And one of them is that it was so dark that you really couldn't see it, very much of it on TV afterwards. And so I don't know what kind of lighting you might need to have or something like that. But also I thought, maybe especially with the schools not having school, maybe get something out to the public so that the scout troops and maybe the athletic teams, even though they might not be playing, they could maybe participate in being in the parade, just to bring some excitement to the city. So anyway, I just wanted to make those couple comments, and if anybody would be interested, I'd be happy to help or give suggestions, more suggestions about the Christmas parade and stuff. So thank you very much. Have a good meeting.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to close public comment and go down to item number 4.
Wait, Mike, wasn't there a letter?
There was an email. Did you receive it?
Yes, I thought it was being read. I'm sorry.
I didn't receive that email.
I thought it was being read. It's all right.
Oh, I'm not sure to tell you procedurally with this. I'm not. Tim, can you clarify that for us? I think you're muted there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was jumping through a couple other things. Yeah, I believe Sean received an email from a gentleman, and I passed that along for the board's information. I don't know if Sean wants to read it or just make comment on it. It really wasn't submitted as part of the public comment request. It was submitted to Sean as part of some other activities, and we were just passing that along. So, I'll leave it up to Sean if he wants to make comment on it or not.
Okay. John, are we all set then?
Yeah,
I want to make sure that Director Rossbach got the email, though. If not, can we resend it to her?
Well, can I make a comment? Didn't we read Mr. Hagelstein's email? I think we did.
Okay.
That was last month. Yeah. If
Yeah.
that's the same one, then yep.
No, that's a different, from a different person.
Precedent, I'm in favor of the email being read. It was sent in. as a
Okay.
comment.
Sean, can you pull that up?
I sure can. I'm happy to. So I received an email on Monday, September 14th from Mr. Clay Davis. He's the owner of Funky 7 on Main Street. He said, "Hey, Sean, hope everything is going well. We just wanted to let you know that sales over Labor Day weekend was almost double what it had been in the past with Arts, Beats, and Eats going on. Not sure what you have heard around town, but it is almost a blessing in disguise that it was canceled this year. We also have seen an uptick in people using the downtown dollars. This has been a great initiative and appreciate the work and planning that went on for this. Thanks again, Clay Davis, Funky 7.
Okay. Thank you, Sean, or thank you. Okay.
I think his email, his letter expresses a sentiment of most retailers in town, including me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so public comment is now closed. We will go on to item number 4, approval of minutes from August 26, 2020.
Move to approve.
Motion by Director Riley,
I
second
second.
by Director Rossbeck. Any questions, additions, or deletions? If not, I'll call for the vote, and this will be a roll call vote. Director Krieger,
Aye.
Director Yazbek,
Yes.
Director Brake,
Yes.
Director London,
Yes,
Director Baglio,
Yes.
Director Riley,
Yes.
and Director Rossback.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. That motion passes. Okay, item number 5, expense items. You've all received a list of the expense items. Any questions for staff that you need to bring forward at this time? Okay, so that's for informational purposes only. Seeing no response, I will move on to item number 6. Drew Lane podcast extension of contract. Sean, do you want to start us out on this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Business Marketing Committee is recommending that the DDA extend its advertising agreement with the Drew and Mike podcast. The board may be aware that the DDA has been advertising with the Drew and Mike podcast for the last 90 days for July, August, and September. We have advertised our ride sharing programs, buy local programs with the Yifty gift cards, and social media contests on the podcast in the past. So as I mentioned, the Business Marketing Committee is recommending extending this advertising agreement again by an additional 3 months that will cover October, November, and December at an expected cost of $8,000 per month as what we have been paying, totaling an additional $24,000. I should note that the Consumer Marketing Committee also discussed this item at its September 9th meeting. The Consumer Marketing Committee, I should note, was split recommendation with some of the members supporting the extension and some others opposed. From the last DDA meeting in which this was approved, I'll just reiterate that this podcast was presented to us as the only Michigan-based podcast that was in the nation's top 100 podcasts, and was the #1 podcast in Michigan on Spotify. So as we explained before, the format of this advertising is very fluid. It's very flexible. It allows the host to advertise our programs using live reads, so we don't submit a pre-recorded commercial like with other media. The host performs a live read explaining, the program. Drew has actually taken these ads and has turned them into almost mini segments that cover several minutes beyond, I think, what we had originally paid for. So I think I should make note of that. And lastly, I should note that if the DDA concurs with this, the $24,000 would have to be reallocated in the advertising budget, potentially from some of the canceled events this year, whose budget won't actually be used.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, I see a bunch of hands. I'll go with Director London first.
You want me to wait?
Hold on
move-
1 second, please.
I'm sorry.
I'll go right to you next.
That's fine.
I move to support this motion with the caveat that we also put equal money towards advertising a podcast or advertising towards female-based advertising to target women who are usually the decision makers in shopping, picking restaurants. So we need to attract women, not just men. So we can do this motion, but I want equal dollars spent towards attracting women coming to Royal Oak.
Okay. I have a motion by Director London,
Second.
second by Director Krieger.
Well, either one.
Okay.
We'll flip for it, Tony.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, Tony. I saw Director Krieger first.
It's my big
Okay,
day.
so I have a motion and a second. I'll put it out on the floor for discussion at this point.
Can I just,
Go ahead, Director Yasbeck.
yeah, I was at the Consumer Marketing Committee meeting, and Director London is exactly right as far as what we discussed, broadening our attempt at marketing the things that we have going on downtown now, the various programs that were developed by the DDA. I don't think any of us thought that the Drew Lane podcast wasn't effective, and I think there's a sufficient evidence that it was, but it does have its demographic, and I think we all agreed that we want to reach other demographics, including women, including younger folks, because this is a time where, as we discussed, we're not doing a lot of events. So we should broaden our marketing approach and try to reach all demographics and get the biggest bang for our buck. I think that's the basis for the next couple items that we'll talk about. But as far as the Drew Lane podcast, I think we all agreed that it is reaching some demographic effectively, but we really need to broaden that. And so I think, that was the essence of the Consumer Marketing Committee meeting, and it, the other members can certainly add to that.
Thank you. Director Riley.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with broadening our advertising base right now, especially, when you look at the list and you go through everything that we had planned that's not going to happen, that brings people into our town, like Spectacular, like Jingle, Arts Beats and Eats, Rock and Rides, Metro Times Blowout. So I think it makes total sense to take some of those dollars and get a full-pronged approach and go after as many segments as we can. Just real quickly, the stuff that we have coming up. One thing that Drew will be highlighting intensely is the expiration of the current cards. We're doing just fine. I think when we started, and I want to apologize for one thing. Some members have asked about tracking, and we were going to talk to Don at EFT about putting a promo code in there so we'd know where everything came from. And for the sake of expediency, we wanted to get this thing out there and get money in people's hands and get them to come into our businesses as fast as we can. The only thing I can tell you is that the podcast was the only one who had any promotion responsibility at all for this program for over 72 hours. And in those 72 hours, we had over 8,000 signups for the newsletter. And so that was totally, I can't tell you out of the 25,000 how many have come from the podcast. I can tell you the first 8,000 did. So the other thing, so we're going to have them promoting, obviously, the expiration dates. I know I signed up for mine on the first day. Mine expires October 13th. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, the majority are going to expire between October 13th and the end of the month. With a little bit, the last 5,000 are probably going to be a couple of weeks later. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So the plan is, and the next meeting we'll have the full plan. The plan is to come back with the holiday gift card idea. And again, it makes total sense to me to at least keep the podcasting. Is how there's a lot of that audience are the ones who have these cards. They've come to town. We know they'll come to town. They've spent over $150,000 to date. which frankly, Yifty had told us that the majority of the redemptions would come in the last 2 and 3 weeks of the expiration dates. We totally expected about we were hoping for a 75% redemption rate for 2 reasons. One, we wanted to have a big number, and 2, we did want to have some back so we could use that money to fund the gift card promo, which is going to be, I think, really, really cool, where we're going to, people will buy gift cards, but the DDA will add value to it. And we're based on what we think is going to come back and what we have in the budget, we'll determine the percentage. But I'm thinking it could be upwards of 50%. And I think that's a huge initiative. And that will be great to promote through whatever other vehicles the Consumer Marketing Committee comes up with in terms of advertising to get all the demographics we want. I just think it would be a mistake, obviously, to walk away from the demographic that we have. And it does skew predominantly male. But, I have noticed in the buys, it was interesting. I went through the Yifty report, and there's the five retailers between Unique Knits, Made in the Mitten, Right Impressions, Rail and Anchor, and UHF. They've accounted for 18% of the total redemptions. There's been 4,800 redemptions, and those 5, and there's 73 people who've signed up for it. Those 5. So we are getting female response. And I know all of those places don't skew 100% female. UHF would probably skew more towards male, but they're in there together. The other main thing I want to mention, and Sean, you owe me some bullet points on the promo we're going to kick out on September 17th, which is going to be pretty cool. Another thing, the younger demographic we've attempted to get at through Instagram and Facebook, and that's stuff that Scrooge has done, that Siren has done. And we have a really cool promo coming up now where people are going to shoot their own videos, post them, tag them, and the 4 winners are going to get $1,000 gift cards. And I think that starts the 17th, right, Sean?
Yes, the contest with Instagram starts on the 17th, and I've been working with Siren to get that off the ground. So we should have bullet points
tomorrow
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get it so that they run with it tomorrow night, so post Wednesday, so they're up Wednesday morning.
Certainly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Director London.
I just want to add that the day that Mike and Drew talked about the Gifty gift cards also was the same day that Sean launched a social media campaign about it. So we don't know that all from that. Since the Consumer Marketing Committee, I had my staff ask everyone redeeming how they found out about it. And of course, it's a small sample. It's just one retailer, but most people said Instagram, Facebook, word of mouth, and Nextdoor. The Nextdoor is the community app.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All good, though. I mean, every place that talked about it, it's all good.
Yeah, the more the better. I agree. Director Rosbeck.
Yeah, so I agree that this podcast has served its purpose. I will not be supporting this extension for 3 months. I would be willing to extend it for 1 month, given the fact that, as Director Riley pointed out, about 12,000 of our, I believe, our gift cards that have not been opened or have been viewed are all going to expire before the end of October. And if he feels strongly that this is the listenership that has signed up for these, that we should have some support on the Drew Lane podcast, but I am not for supporting this into November or December. I would like to look at other venues for advertising. Again, we are looking at the worst consumer sentiment for doing anything outside of 1981. I have done a lot of research on this. I believe that we can get a broader demographic and spend our money a little more wisely. I would also point out that on April 15th, we did get a strategic communication plan that is that gave us two personas that we are supposed to be pursuing, one being Brittany, the single millennial, and the other being Joe and Kelly, the young family. So I would like us to focus our efforts towards those demographics, and look at media channels that will help boost that. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Roswick. Director Riley.
Well, I only have only two things I disagree with there. One, you said there's 12,000 that are all going to expire. So you're assuming that no more are going to be redeemed. I couldn't disagree more vehemently with that.
I'm not saying that they're going to not be redeemed. Sorry, Director Riley.
Redeemed over the weekend.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, Yifty prepped us for the majority of the redemptions would come near the end. And
Okay.
the other thing I would say, while I understand that Siren came up with the two groups or whatever whom we're supposed to be going after, that was pre-COVID. And in my opinion, in the Business Marketing Committee's opinion, right now our customer and who we're supposed to go after is anybody we can, anybody that will come to town. And that's what I think we should do. And believe me, I'm totally in favor in broadening our advertising scope. I'm just not in favor of cutting out where we've been.
Okay. Thank you. All good comments. I'm not seeing any more hands at this point. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and call the motion. We do have a motion on the table and a second. So the motion is to approve the contract at this point. We'll do a roll call on this.
Are we approving the contract with the caveat of exploring another avenue that will attract a female demographic, or is it as written?
Well, no, that's the motion that she made. So
Yeah.
that's the motion that's on the table right now.
Mike, is it or other avenues, plural? Because I think we should leave it open to whatever we can.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Director London? You're muted. I'm sorry.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I just want to make sure because you were the motion. And the
Okay,
second came from Director Yazbek. You're okay with that?
Oh, no, Director Krieger.
I'm sorry.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Tony.
Director Krieger,
Yes,
you're
I am.
okay with that?
Yes. As
Okay.
long as it's the young single millennial woman. I'm kidding. That's fine.
Okay, so all the
Mike-
formal, I'm sorry, go
Mike-
ahead, Tim.
I guess I want to ask for clarification, because the original motion was to approve it subject to allocating the same amount of money towards additional demographic. It wasn't anything beyond that. It was a motion to allocate the same amount of money. Are we allocating the same amount of money, or are we simply looking at other venues at this point? So that's the clarification I want. Are we?
Okay,
putting
Director London, I
$24,000 worth
also, for a point of clarification, maybe you could just help us out here. In your motion, I'm trying to understand the intent of your motion. And is your motion based on a future today's agenda item or beyond that?
My motion was to allocate the same amount of money towards broadening the demographic of what
Okay.
Dr. Rosbrecht said.
I guess what I was asking, were you specifically talking about a future agenda item on today's agenda, or researching more beyond today's agenda, I guess?
I'm not sure.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. I was just wondering whether you were referring to either item number 7, 8, or 9, or 10 in today's agenda when you were speaking of.
No, I was not. I'm talking
Okay,
about-
thank you.
Yeah, I took it as this is going to be approved. However, we as a group need to also find another avenue to market towards primarily women. And
Correct.
that's how I read it. Because I agree with you. Women are the boss. So I agree with you 100%. So
Gotcha.
that's why I
Okay.
took it.
So Tim, how should we proceed here? Do you want some money allocated towards this, or I guess I'm asking for clarification from you as to what your concern was.
Muted.
Well, my comment is the motion is that you're allocating $24,000 towards an activity yet to be defined. So if you're actually allocating resources, then I need to include it in the budget as an allocation of $24,000 towards this. Any venue or podcast or agreement's going to come back to the board for final action, but as I heard the motion, you're allocating specific dollar amounts to this if this passes. So what I would do is allocate those resources from somewhere in the budget.
That works.
So we could take the resources from any of the events that aren't occurring this year?
We have $50,000 left on Arts, Beats, and Eats. Pull it from
Let's
there.
do that. That's fine. And I feel good doing this because A, we're not spending it. B, we have the money. C, we're trying to go after as many people as possible to bring them into town, and that's hitting another demographic. So it makes sense.
And if I can, I would just point out that if you go down through the rest of the items on today's agenda, you are allocating additional resources there. The last, or not the last item, but item 10 is a summary budget of the promotions budget as it's there. And if you pass all of the contracts today, not including the additional 24,000, you can see you've eaten up everything that's been allocated towards promotion and PR other than about $7,000. So if you do all of these plus add the 24,000, it's got to come from somewhere else.
Oh, we're not doing the jingle or spectacular.
It's already been reallocated, though.
Again, I would suggest it's
Yeah,
already been reallocated.
I can find it in a hurry. We allocated $50,000 for Factory Detroit. That came in at $30,000. Am I correct, Sean?
I think it came in at more like
I'm
32.
not asking you to identify it today.
Okay.
I'm just going to have to find it. And when we get down to the summary, we can.
And I'll put something else out there. We allocated $70,000 on the Lyft and Uber program. We never did anything with Uber. So half of that money is just sitting there, and not many people are taking Lyfts right now. If anybody looked at Lyft,
I would agree with that.
they're down.
Okay, so Tim, are you okay with us moving forward with the motion and then possibly having this discussion on item number 10?
That's where I'd like to have it, yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. That being said, if all the formalities and questions are out of the way, I will call for the vote. I'll start with Director London,
Yes.
Director Krieger,
Yes.
Director Yesbick,
Yes.
Director Brake,
Yes.
Director Baglio,
Yes.
Director Riley,
Yes.
Director Rosbeck,
No.
and I will vote yes. Okay. So that motion does pass. And we will have that discussion. We'll add that discussion into item number 10. And I'll move on to item number 7, Comcast extension of contract. I don't know if this is Sean or Sean, is this from you? Did you draft this?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Can you start us off, please?
Certainly. So similarly, this is another recommendation to have advertising extended for an additional 3 months. This one is with Comcast Effectv. This is our television commercials that have been advertising the one commercial that was put together by Factory Detroit. So the Consumer Marketing Committee is recommending the extension of Comcast Effectv advertising in the amount of an additional $30,000. The duration of the extension is going to be approximately 12 weeks. And I would be working with the representative that we've had with Comcast to make sure that this ad reaches the target demographics that Director Rosbeck had mentioned earlier in the conversation. Similarly, our prior television commercials had been reaching out specifically to those audiences that had been put together for us by Siren. So if the DDA concurs with this recommendation, there is a resolution prepared to extend the advertising agreement and authorizes the executive director to execute that agreement with Comcast.
Okay. So I'm going to open the table for discussion. I'm going to start with, see if the chairman of the committee wants to make any comment at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Consistent with the discussion with the last item, we think broadening or at least continuing some of these marketing efforts makes perfect sense. I will say there was a discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, that if with these 12 weeks and how to best allocate them, if prices soar right before the election, maybe, pull back and double up in, after the election, December, when we can get more bang for the buck. I think that would be my only comment, but again, this, full court press with regard to marketing for the end of the year for all demographics.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a clarification. I can provide some information.
Sure.
Director Yazbek. Yes, Director Yazbek, I did follow up with our Comcast representative regarding that specific issue, whether or not pricing would change because it's an election year. It was explained to me that because of the target audiences and the networks that kind of follow that we would be advertising with, that we would actually be able to dodge a lot of those price increases and that we wouldn't really be affected by any of those. So we could continue on kind of status quo with that advertising if we saw fit. So,
Thank you. Director Riley?
Yeah, I did. First of all, I just want to say the ad that I've seen is spectacular. I think it's incredibly well done, and I've gotten from friends comments, which usually doesn't happen on stuff like this. And my only other question was, and I don't remember, do we have more ads in the can coming, or are we running I know the open one is there. Is that the same one we're going to run? I'm just for clarification only.
I'm seeing a couple heads shaking yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is the one commercial that was produced with this agreement that we had with Factory. So we had a variety of static content like billboards. There's a variety of those that we can put out into circulation. But in terms of the television and radio, it's just that one asset, I guess you would refer to it.
And the other thing I'd add is that because I was sick for a little bit. No, I didn't have COVID, so I was watching a ton of TV and I was flipping channels in all different homogenous areas, and our coverage was really, really, really good in terms of the channels. I mean, I was seeing it during sporting events. I think even during, I hate to admit, Hallmark movies, but.
Okay.
I feel bad. I watch them with my wife.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Tim, correct me. I think we have a motion on the table, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
No? Okay. Then I will
I'll
look
move
for
the
one.
resolution.
Director Rosbach.
I'll make the motion to move forward with the Consumer Marketing Committee recommendation to
Thank you.
continue the Comcast contract.
Thank you. I have a motion on the table.
Second.
I'm going to second by Director Krieger. Okay. No more discussion. I will
Could I add
call for the
something,
vote.
Chairman? Could I add something?
Sure. Yes, please.
I just want to say that I'm even more fond of Director Riley now after his confession that he too watched college.
Okay.
They get better as Christmas comes up, so you just got to keep watching.
Hey, Jason, 40 new movies coming out this Christmas.
I know.
Okay. Roll call vote, please. Director Rosbach.
Yes.
Director Riley.
Yes.
Director Baglio.
Yes.
Director London.
Yes.
Director Brake? Director Brake, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Director Yazbek
Yes.
and Director Krieger.
Yes.
Okay, and I will vote yes, and that motion passes. All right. Item number 8. I'm having trouble reading it here. Outfront extension of contract. Sean, can you start us on this, please?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Noticing a theme here, it's all advertising
Yes.
extensions. Likewise, this is an extension with our billboard advertising. Also 12 weeks. This would be basically a duplication of what we've already done. It would just be extending it out an additional 12 weeks. The amount is the same that was spent over the previous 12 weeks, which is $20,000. If approved, I would be working with our representative from Outfront to put together the schedule and what locations in the southeastern Michigan area would be the most efficient for promoting downtown Royal Oak. So if it's approved, likewise with the other previous resolutions, funds would have to be reallocated from canceled events or otherwise available funds in the budget. If the DDA does concur with this recommendation from the Consumer Marketing Committee, there is a resolution prepared for its consideration.
Thank you. Discussions or motions? Director Riley, I see your hand.
I just have one quick question, and again, I apologize, I don't remember, but on the billboard, Sean, are we able, in the committee, are we able to change our messages? In other words, I'm wondering, like, can we advertise like Small Business Saturday when that's coming up and things like that?
Yeah, they're very versatile. So so long as I can get to them a couple weeks in advance with the artwork, which may require us maybe working with a graphic designer if we wanted to create something specific. We've done this in the past where we've changed out billboards for advertisements for holiday jingle, or I think in the past we did the pink out one that was part of a sponsorship when Rora did that. So yeah, that's definitely possible.
Okay, so as long as we kind of keep our eyes on the prize, and maybe the Consumer Marketing Committee looks ahead 12 weeks and figures out maybe 3 different things. I don't know how you do stuff like that. I've never done billboard advertising.
Yeah, it's so long as we let them know in advance and get them the artwork in advance, and they are fine with the artwork and it's the right dimensions and anything, they can have it scheduled and they can swap it out for whatever creative spot that we currently have scheduled.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how efficient doing the, what do you call it, would be the gift cards, because they got to get they're driving by and they got to get the website address. But I think Small Business Saturday, Royal Open.
It's been recommended to me that anything on the billboard should be less than 10 words. So.
Okay, got it.
Okay, Director Rosbeck.
Sean, is it possible to get the locations of these LEDs just so that we have them so we know where they are?
Yes.
But I agree with Director Riley that because these are digital, we should be a little more active in our campaign. I even think the 2 hours free in the parking deck is probably something we should be putting on these billboards.
On that note, now that you brought that up, Tim, are we able to promote that, or does that have a time lag on when it goes into effect?
Right now, it's going to have a time lag simply because the park rate has got to recalibrate the equipment and then make sure that it works. So there is a time lag.
Okay.
If we have it and it's working, we'll just notify everyone and we'll get started. But it's not going to be an immediate shift over.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, questions, motions?
I'll move to approve.
I got a motion by Director Riley,
I'll
second by
second.
Director London. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Director Riley,
Yes.
Director London,
Yes.
Director Baglio,
Yes.
Director Rosbeck,
Yes.
Director Brake,
Yes.
Director Yazbek,
Yes.
Director Krieger,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Motion passes. Okay, item number 9, Michigan Radio NPR sponsorship. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Consumer Marketing Committee is recommending becoming a sponsor of NPR Michigan Radio to promote downtown Royal Oak to target demographics. I reached out to the representative for sponsorships there, and they put together a kind of a sponsorship package for us that would last approximately 12 weeks. This would be the same duration as our other advertising, so it would kind of follow that same schedule. And the committee is recommending a budget of $20,000 for this 12-week advertising campaign. So I should note that how it's structured is it's more of a sponsorship, not advertising, so to speak. So they're like live reads. They'll say, you know, this segment of Michigan Radio has been brought to you by the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. And then we can kind of put in some kind of promotional message. Because it is a sponsorship, we are kind of limited in what we can and can't say. So for instance, we can't include anything like a call to action. So we can't say, you know, get your gift card now or anything like that. But we can say some kind of 20,000 foot, like overarching positive things about downtown, such as, you know, a dining and shopping destination, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make that clear to the board before they vote on it. And if the board does concur with this recommendation, there is a resolution prepared for its consideration.
Okay, for discussion, I'm going to go with Director Baglio first.
I motion to approve this resolution.
I got a motion by Director Baglio,
I'll second.
second by Director London, and discussion. I'll go with Director Riley first.
Just a point of clarification. This is separate from, and again, just for clarification, this is separate from going after the other demographics and the other 24,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Yesbeck.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused because I thought coming out of the Consumer Marketing Committee, we were going to get some information related to NPR, such as demographics and so forth. And the only reason the $20,000 figure came up is because Sean wanted a number to see what we could procure for $20,000, or just as a frame of reference. I didn't know that we were going to actually move forward with NPR. I haven't seen any information on NPR that would, enable me to make an informed decision. What I was going to suggest when we were talking about the original, or a couple items ago, was that 24,000 or 28,000, whatever it is, that Director London was referencing for other demographics. I think this 20,000 plus some additional money probably should be the money that we allocate for whatever medium or whatever avenue we decide is the best for these additional demographics. I'm very reluctant to move forward with NPR without knowing more, but I definitely could support X amount of dollars at minimum, Director London's amount in the previous motion, and get the best, the best thing available for those bucks. I know that there's a lot out there that come to mind before NPR. For me, I need the information.
Okay, thank you. Director Rossbeck.
I would agree with Director Yesbeck. NPR is a great opportunity, but I would not necessarily think this totally fits in our wheelhouse of people we want to go after. Again, I'm an NPR listener. I've purchased NPR, and when Sean says it's a 50,000 foot message, it really is. It's a branding message. It is not a call to action. You can't run a lot of promotional items beyond, saying, we're the dining and entertainment destination. I would see this as a good moving into a spring to summer opportunity because of the demographics that are within NPR. I mean, we are talking about a household income that is pretty good and high. We're talking about people who do want to go to events, and they want to go to public activities and support the community. So while I appreciate this coming forward, I would move to delay this for a 2021 spring to summer launch.
Okay. Director Riley.
Yeah, I do have some numbers. I'm assuming we're talking about WDET, right? When we're talking NPR?
No, we are not. We're talking about 91.7. WDET is different.
That's Wayne State. That's it. But
Mhm.
also is it also an NPR or no?
But
It's a separate sponsorship. This is Michigan Radio versus WDET.
Jennifer, do you know the call letters?
Yes. WUOM.
Okay. The only
It's in the
I got it.
proposal.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any rates on that, but
WDET is a definitely different NPR station, and I would agree that's another avenue of NPR we would want to go down as well.
for what it's worth, DET has 7,300 listeners, with 12 and up between 6 and 10. That's the only thing I pulled. And UOM has, I just saw it, 3,800 listeners in that range. I did look at DET, and you are right. The income, I mean, 42.4% household income's over 100,000. That's DET though. So,
Well, DET for most for NPR listeners is over 100,000. So, I mean, it is a great demographic to go after. It's an educated demographic, but again, you would go after it for specific. You'd go after it to move away from a lot of clutter, because again, they don't advertise in the same amount of time during an hour. They only have quarterly sponsorships for the hour. So they'd hit on the 15s of the 15, 30, 45s of the hours.
So Director Rosbeck, what you're thinking is that we'd be better off tabling this until maybe we get through COVID and we don't have such a defined message, and it's more a branding type message. Because I would agree that branding message right now.
I'm thinking it's a let's get through this season of fall winter.
Right.
And we've gotten a great plan. COVID has really taught a lot of our retailers and restaurateurs how to do business differently this year. The spring and summer will just get that much better. COVID's not going away. So let's focus this type of message into that spring, summer, where we lost most of that this year because we were trying to retool everything.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to add a couple comments here. I think everybody's made some great comments here, and I tend to agree with mostly with everybody has said here. It appears to me that I was ready to support this 100%, and then I heard Director London's comments earlier, and I'm wondering if we were to table this and reevaluate it, could we get a bigger bang for the buck in terms of the directions that Director London and some of the other board members would like to go? So I'm wondering if that avenue should be pursued. And by the basis of that, Director Yazbek doesn't feel comfortable moving forward because of some lack of info, and the comments of Director Rosbeck and Director Riley in terms of maybe just reevaluating it for a short period of time. So that being said, I'll listen to some more comments before we do have a motion on the table, though, just so everybody knows. Gary, Director Baglio, please.
Would it be a good idea to rescind the motion and kick it back to committee?
That would be up to Director London.
I made the motion.
Oh, to rescind it? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. Okay, so I have a motion on the table to rescind. Tim, if I'm not doing this the right way, let me know.
Mike, I think they can just withdraw their motion, and if no one offers a motion,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. That's why I
Yep.
was looking for Director
Yeah.
London to be okay with it or not.
if
So-
Director Gary and Director Rundon withdraw their motion, and there isn't a motion to move forward, we'll just move on to the next item.
Okay. Are you comfortable with that, Director London? I want to make sure. Yeah, you are? Okay.
The
I
only
have
thing,
Director Riley first, then Director Roswick.
the only thing I would say, and Tim's going to hate me on this, I didn't like it at the time that when we passed the caveat at $24,000, because if the Consumer Marketing Committee decides, I don't like keeping them to a cap, where especially if we're pulling this 20,000 out that was already in Tim's revised budget. So I mean, I hate to do this, but I'd prefer that we go back and we remove that cap and let them come back to us with whatever program they desire. They think gets where we need. If it costs $25,000, I don't want them to not be able to do it or do a segment of it because we set a cap on it. And
I think you're going to be fine when we get down to item 10.
Okay.
We'll just make some adjustments at item 10.
Okay.
I just simply put in how it was going to get allocated based on the Consumer Marketing Committee's discussion under item 10. And that's why I suggest that's where we'll deal with
Okay.
how the money's allocated.
Okay.
I think it sounds good because I think the intent here, everybody's on the same page with the intent here. So I think we'll get accomplished what we want to get accomplished. Director Rosbeck, did you have some comments?
No, I didn't know if I needed to make a motion to just basically earmark this money plus the caveat that Director
Sounds like
Riley
we're
was
going to
talking
talk a
about.
little bit about that on item 10 when we
Okay.
come to it, okay? Okay, so that the motion has been pulled off the table, so no further action is necessary right now. Okay, and we will move on to item number 10. The budget, promotions, public relations. Tim, you want to handle this then?
Yeah, based on the Consumer Marketing Committee's discussion and the items that we're moving forward, I wanted to make sure the entire board was in concurrence if you pass the contracts that were listed above and where money would flow without the need to draw money from the contingency. As you see the chart in front of you, it's the promotions Main Street Committee line item, and under that I've broken out everything that's included in it. You'll see the first column of figures is the approved budget for fiscal year 2021. The revised budget based on discussion, and I'm not asking for any action on the revised budget today because I'm also going to bring back some other segments and things based on where we're at for the entire budget, probably at the October meeting. But as you'll see where those monies are coming from, Spooktacular at 10,000 has been zeroed out. The Jingle event and parade at 70,000 has been zeroed out. Arts, Beats and Eats, originally budgeted 100,000 has been reduced to 50. And that would really be the payment that would potentially be due in the spring of 2021. There hasn't been one made for the prior event out of this fiscal year. So that drops to 50,000. The Metro Times blowout would be a full allocation again. The reason that was budgeted at 30,000 was, or 35,000, was part of the payment occurred in last fiscal year. Metro Times blowout is generally a June, or was it a June event? So it would, the entire thing would occur in this fiscal year if it moves forward. So I've left the entire amount in there, given that the last meeting you extended that contract with them. The Chamber of Commerce sponsorships that was recently approved by the board, wasn't part of the original budget, so there's 50,000 allocated there as a change under the revised. Very similar with the Royal Oak Jewish Center sponsorship at 5,400 was added in. And then based on some of the actions today, I've increased the Drew Lane podcast, left the Factory Detroit refresh as it is. The Comcast campaign or Effectv was again bumped up based on action today. Very similar to the outdoor media billboards ad, were again increased from 20 to 40,000 based on today's action. The next couple of items have remained the same. And then the last item there, the NPR radio at 20,000. Obviously you didn't approve that contract. So rather than identifying NPR radio, that could roll into unallocated funds for media buys. And then when you do decide what you want to allocate it to, we'd bring you that contract. So I don't think there's any action there either to simply roll that into the overall unallocated funds. There was also 28,000 indicated for pedicabs. I'm not sure whether the committee is going to move forward with that at all in the spring, but it wasn't necessary to do with anything on it. And then as Director Riley indicated earlier, I think everyone doesn't believe we're going to spend 70,000 on ride share promotions. That's in a different account number though, line items. So I just indicated all those things. So that's how it would set up based on today's discussion and action by the board. I'm simply going to take the Michigan Radio NPR and move it to unallocated funds. I don't need a motion here. Like I said, my intent's to bring you back the full entire development fund budget so that you can see the business marketing committees and where we stand with the rebound program and some other things too. So that's all my comments.
Okay.
Questions?
Thank you. Director Rosbeck.
Just really quickly, because I don't want to lose, as Director Riley has pointed out, we don't want to lose October, November, December, or at least October, because we'd have to come back to another meeting in session. So I want to inquire to Sean if Comcast can place media outside of TV for you. Do they have other digital assets that we could utilize to hit the demographics we've been talking about without having to, with making a different motion to research and place if necessary?
Sean, did you want to?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can answer that. Comcast has never presented me with any options about advertising outside of television or video. So they've had their like Xfinity cable option, and then they've had what they refer to as OTT, over the top, and that's usually through streaming services. It's usually, how it's been presented to me is like things like Sling TV and other television streaming. They've never presented a Pandora option or any sort of streaming audio. I have a call scheduled with them tomorrow morning. I can ask, but not to my knowledge.
Okay, I'm even looking at digital display from that perspective. If they are have an ad network that goes across websites that we could locally target. That was just a thought, because again, if we're trying to improve the 31% of redeemed certificates to a higher number, which is 31% is a really great number, but if we're trying to get more eyeballs, even from a digital perspective when everyone is home, I I would be remiss not to ask if they can do that.
Okay, Sean, you'll do some research on that then?
Yes, I'll include that topic on my call with Comcast tomorrow morning when I
Okay.
let them know of the board's vote.
So with that said, Chairman, could I put a proposal forward to state if they have such things that we allocate another amount of money to Comcast for their budget? Can we do it preemptively?
Yeah.
So I'm not losing a month?
Well, you can't.
I'll jump in. If you
Contract.
can articulate what you're looking for clear enough that the rest of the board can vote for it, then certainly I would ask that you do that. I would be a little concerned if the board's not entirely clear what we're authorizing Sean to purchase from them. But yes, if you can make a motion that the rest of the board can support and be clear on to modify the contract with them and allocate it, it'd be all right with me.
Okay, let me go around here. I got a couple hands, and then I'll come back to you, Director Rosbeck. Give it some thought here. Director Riley.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say real quick, Sean and Director Rosbeck, the guy that we worked through to do the buying on the Drew and Mike podcast can buy podcasts, radio stations, all of that, if that's what you're looking for. In fact, he was the one that I'd gotten numbers for. In fact, originally I got numbers on Mojo in the Morning and stuff like that. And he can get you all the demographics, all the listenerships, all the numbers, the rates, etc. I'm just throwing that in there for simplicity, if that helps. I'm not sure if Comcast does it or not. But the only thing I'm confused about, Tim, is that if can we just give them the money to make the buy, or do we need a contract that comes back to show buying? We can get
Well, again, I'll go back to how much details provided in the motion and your comfort with that motion, whether or not that's sufficient. I'm obviously not an expert in media purchases, but if it's clear enough, then that Sean and I can do it, and it comes back, we'll proceed.
Okay. Director Yazbek.
Director Riley's suggestion sounds good. I also, Sean and I met with representatives from, this is a few months ago, from YCD. It's the country station, but they have, their umbrella is like 10 or 12 stations, OMC, and their pitch was they reach a broad range of people. Maybe that's it. I think they're very similar to the kind of person Director Riley's talking about. Sean, would it make sense to contact them because they can give us some a broader picture of the opportunities that are out there?
I'm happy to speak with whoever the board recommends. I guess the question is whether or not the resolution is going to commit to Comcast specifically, or what if Comcast comes back and says, no, will staff have the ability to kind of pivot and then go with something that makes more sense to get something into the appropriate.
I would make the resolution, because now that Mr. Thwing has explained it, I would actually make the motion to have staff research and place media that broadens our demographic with an appropriate media buyer. I don't want to uphold you to a Comcast, because I was under the impression that we actually had to have a contract come in to the board. If we do not need a contract to come into the board, I think you could work with an ad agency within Royal Oak that you already work with to place media that fits our demographic.
Okay.
What I will
just
add
real
to
quick.
What I will add to that is my limit on that's 3,000.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
Doesn't the Consumer Marketing Committee want to discuss where all this together and decide where to place?
Yes,
I
that's
tell
what
you,
I'm-
I'm completely confused and I would like to be brought back to committee.
Absolutely. And then you guys can mull over, Sean can bring you who can purchase and whatever, and we can move it along. But
I think Director Rosbeck's thought process on this, or she didn't want to have to wait another month for the full board to meet. But I think what we could possibly do here is
Agree
consumer
upon a
marketing could
level.
meet as soon as Sean puts the information together. Consumer market could then have a meeting at that point, wherever it falls on, if Sean has all the information put together, and then we could move on from there.
Here's the good news, guys. Remember we had the one meeting that's moved up a week because of some holiday. I think it's next. I'm showing you my calendar, October 14th, which actually lays out beautifully because we can be ahead of the game for the holiday gift card promo, and we'll have the last 2 and 3 weeks of the current gift cards. So we're losing a little bit of time, but not a ton of time.
So
Am I right on that with October?
Director Rosbeck first.
could I make a motion then for staff to research a budget of $48,000 for media placements that are going towards our strategic communications plan?
Why is staff doing that, not the Consumer Marketing Committee? I'm confused.
Well, Sean, so I think I'm asking for Sean to do the research and come
Tim,
to a recommendation.
is that too general for you, Tim? Because there's no specific. I need you to unmute there.
Yeah, I muted myself again. No, the motion's fine. It's just doing research. It's a question of, so I don't have a problem with that. It's not moving forward with anything.
Okay.
I'm just.
I'm so far, Director Rosbeck, just to be clear, so far, I'm not taking the motion. I'm considering your comments as discussion right now, and I can come back to you for that motion. So I want to make sure that we get the motion correctly, okay? So I will come back to you for that motion, but right now I'm considering it discussion.
I'm just trying to come up with a dollar figure that makes sense so that when we do meet as a committee, we have some proposals in front of us that we can actually talk about and discuss.
Okay.
Coming into committee would be hard to say we want to go with this station or that station or things like that.
Right. I was wondering, I think Director Riley's idea was a decent idea that if we wanted to, we could leave that amount open and let the committee come back to us and say, this is what we need, this is what we want, this is the direction we want to go.
Sure. Once you see the rates and where you want to go, why hamstring yourself?
So there's that possibility. Let me get a couple more hands in here. Director Yesbeck.
Yeah, so I think we're on the right track. I think we need the dollar amount because just like the NPR situation, so Sean can have a frame of reference. So I would support the 48,000. And would it make sense to direct Sean to investigate the Comcast possibility, Director Riley's possibility, and the WYCD possibility? Let's research those three with the $48,000 spend, see what they can offer for that money, send it back to the consumer marketing or set a consumer marketing committee meeting to evaluate that information and to make a recommendation to the full board.
I would like them to go broader, if possible, go broader. If it sounds like we picked radio as an opportunity here, and I think radio as well as any paid search would be something I would think we would want to do, digital.
Okay. So I guess at this point, I'm going to come back to you Director Rosbeck. If you could articulate a motion.
Okay, so I will make the motion to have staff research a budget of a budget purchase of around $48,000 for media buys through the end of the year, or through the first of the through January 31st. That will broaden our demographic, target our young millennial and our young family demographic from the strategic communication plan.
Okay, I have a motion on the table from Director Rosbeck.
Second.
Okay, is there a second? Director Krieger?
Yep.
You are seconding the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to open up the table one last time for discussion. Director Riley first.
Real quick question, just so I understand, but this is going to come back to the Consumer Marketing Committee. The information is going to be disseminated to them and they'll make the decision. They'll make
Correct, and then they will bring it to the full board.
Okay.
Director Yesman.
I think we have to add the female demographic.
I was just gonna, that was my next comment that I was just saving, is that I'm hoping that this research that we're gonna do includes the intent of what Director London wanted to achieve here. So
It does.
I think that's an important part of it.
This actually does. Our Comcast buy is very much in line with what I believe Director London and what I have been saying, is that it skews more female, and it skews a younger demographic between 25 to 54.
Okay. Further discussion? I'm not seeing anything. I have a motion and a second on the table. I'm going to call for the vote. Roll call vote. I will go with Director Krieger,
Yes.
Director Yesbeck,
Yes.
Director Brake,
Yes.
Director London,
Yes.
Director Baglio,
Yes.
Director Riley,
Yes.
Director Rosbeck,
Yes.
and I will vote yes, and the motion passes. That concludes item 10. Sean or Tim, other business and reports? Either one?
I think I had a couple items.
Okay.
Yep. Mr. Chair, I've got a couple of things here. Some things that came up after the agenda was put together. The first thing is the DDA was approached with an opportunity to advertise in the Metro Times. It's for their upcoming Best of Detroit issue. So there is some good news for downtown Royal Oak in that, and I did forward an email to the board earlier this afternoon for their review. I did get some feedback from some members of the Consumer Marketing Committee, essentially that it might be a good idea to go with advertising option number 1, which is a full page ad. Also, it includes some online advertising as well in the amount of $795.
Okay. Anybody want to chime in on this?
I'd make a motion to approve the full page ad. And I guess do we leave the content with the Consumer Marketing Committee, or do we use Royal Open? Do we just use?
What's the deadline on this, Sean? Do you know?
I know that the issue's coming out, I think September 30th is when they're making all their announcements. So I'd at least like to give them some information maybe by mid next week if we can. In the past,
Okay, I see a couple hands that might want to chime in here. So I'll go Director Roswick first.
I would second that we continue with the Royal Open that we've just produced if it's coming out that soon.
Okay, are you seconding Director Riley's motion? I just want to be for clarification.
I'm sorry, I'm seconding his idea
Okay.
or his question.
Okay.
I do think that we've just paid a lot of money to build out this campaign. We should be using it for more than a couple months.
Okay. I would like to deal with this first. I have a motion on the table by Director Riley. Is there a second? There is a second by Director London. Okay. Now comments, Director London, I know you wanted to hear.
Well, I agree with Director Rosbeck. The Royal Open seems like an obvious placement.
Okay. Thank you. Director Baglio.
I think we can continue with the Royal Open campaign, but typically the best of issue highlights what your best of award is. So somewhere in it, it needs to acknowledge that we were best retail. What is it? Best retail downtown or whatever. I did the ad last year for the magazine. I do not have time to do it this year. However, in my ad last year, it included all of the Royal Oak awardees in the ad. It was extremely creative. Took me a lot of time, but I suggest we go on that route.
And Director Baglio, did you say like a little thank you everybody who?
I listed all of I listed every winner and what they were over and over and over inside the Royal Oak logo. I could give somebody the raw PSD file, and I'm sure they could modify it to include this year's winners.
Did you do the research on your own to find out who the winners?
I did.
They wouldn't give it to you?
You could just go through the paper. They list them all.
I would think the paper would do this for us.
I may have the original artwork, Gary, that you sent.
I sent it to you because you used it on the
recycled that artwork for the shopping bags for Small Saturday too. So
okay, so being that we are on a very short deadline here, and Sean wants to get them something next week, is everybody on the board okay with authorizing Sean to run with this and move forward with it?
Yes. I'll alter my motion to approve the full page ad and give Sean full authority to create and place the ad with Gary's help.
I second that.
Are you okay with that, Director London?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote again. Director Krieger?
Yes.
Director Yusbeck?
Yes.
Director Brait?
Yes.
Director London?
Yes.
Director Baglio?
Yes.
Director Riley? Director Rosbeck?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, and that motion passes. Sean, back to you.
okay, the second item that I have is concerning the Oakland County Main Street Flag Star Grant. Several weeks ago, I was contacted by Oakland County Main Street, and they twice a year operate a Genesis Credit Union grant and a Flag Star Bank grant, both in the amount of $2,500. So they contacted me. Apparently none of the businesses in downtown Royal Oak had applied for this grant. And it was coming up to the deadline. And so in my conversation with them, I asked if maybe we could throw our hat in for the grant and use the funds somehow. And I was motivated by not wanting to leave any potential funds we could use on the table. So at the 11th hour that afternoon, I filled out a grant application and sent it into the county. And instead of $2,500, I actually pushed for $5,000 to see just what they would say. And as of this afternoon, I got confirmation that we were awarded that $5,000 specifically for a program in which we could get money to business owners that have moved their operations outside, whether it be a patio or a special use permit or anything. And as we're moving into colder weather, potentially provide them with some relief on the costs for equipment to kind of outfit their outside use, their outside patio, whether that be heaters or tents or something like that. And so basically, it's before the board today to vote to accept the grant, accept to receive it, and then whether or not it was going to be referred to committee to discuss how to structure a program, or whether or not the board wanted to decide today how something like this could be dispersed or allocated is up to the board's discretion, essentially.
Okay. Director Riley.
Yeah, real quick. The first thing I'll do is I'll move to accept the grant. And I just have a couple of ideas on this. It's $5,000. It's outdoor only, but it's not restaurant specific, correct, Sean? I mean, I don't know if yoga plans to stay outside or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
We didn't make it restaurant specific to make sure, because there were some businesses that are not restaurants that have moved a lot of their operations outside.
Okay, I have an idea that I just want to toss out to you guys. In terms of, I think we need to do this as fairly and equitably as possible. And it may have to be like on an application, first come, first served basis. I think, in my opinion, we should set a max, whether we do 10 grants at 500 a piece or 20 grants at 250 a piece. Just to give you an idea, our restaurant in Chicago, we just bought 10 outdoor heaters for $110 a piece. So $250 can get you 2 outdoor heaters. I would put a stipulation in this, a little bit of a caveat, you know, we're the bank once again. I would ask that any awardee winners help us promote the holiday gift card promotion by point of purchase display, whether it's a stand up on their counter or something in their window, that they help us actively promote that. And I'll leave it up to you guys to figure out how you want to do it, whether we just do, you know, the first 20 people that send it in. And of course, I'd like to figure out a way to make sure that they spend the money where they say they're going to spend it on. I mean, obviously, we can't take them to Lowe's and buy their heaters for them, but we want to make sure that it goes to what it's supposed to go.
Okay. Director Rosbeck.
Mute.
Mute.
Do we have a second?
I second. Oh, we did second. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I said, do we have?
I second Director Riley's
Okay.
acceptance of the
Thank
grant. I just from I do agree that we have to be, you know, fair and equitable with this. With City Council effectively closing Fifth Avenue, I wonder if these monies could make use to make that more of a destination spot in general. I know that doesn't help bring equity across the board, but because we're creating this little zone till April, it might be something worthwhile to look into.
Thank you. Director London first.
Yeah, I just think it should be divided among all the people who are outside, not just Fifth Avenue. And I don't know how many people that includes, but I know there's a lot, and it's very creative to look at the different patios, and they're all doing a great job.
Okay. Director Yazbek.
I think she was referring to Fifth Street, not just the. It's very similar, I think, to what we're talking about to the facade program. So maybe we just refer it to the infrastructure committee. And
I was just going to recommend that possibly. I think that we should do this fair and equity, like everybody has said, and I think we need to maybe take our time and do it correctly, and not rush into this. And maybe have an application go out. We can also get a list from Mr. Twing about the licensees that pulled permits for outdoor activities. So we would have that in front of us to use as a resource also. So, I mean, that would be what I would suggest, but Director Riley.
Yeah, you can't just limit it, in my opinion, to the COVID-19 extensions because.
No, I was talking about
it's
all outdoor services.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's got a patio,
Straight across the board. Yes.
And there might be some people that we don't know who might need something. I mean, if a retailer wants to have sidewalk sales and wants to have heaters out there, they should be in the ball game as well. And just remember this infrastructure committee, you know, obviously I do think that we do have time as long as you guys come back with something to us on the 14th, because, you know, you're going to start getting chilly.
Yep.
But does anybody have any feedback on my idea of putting a little teaser in there that they help support us as well on the?
I totally agree with that. I think that should be on anything we give out. I do think that caveat should be a line item they have to attest to.
Okay, so the motion that's on the table right now is to accept the award. Let's get that taken care of. If there's no other comments right now, okay. So I'm going to call for the vote. Director Rosbeck?
Yes.
Director Riley?
Yes, and I forgot to say, Sean, great job on getting the 5K.
Yeah. Director Baglio?
Yes.
Director London?
Yes.
Director Brake? I'm sorry, Director Brake, you're muted.
I said yes. Sorry.
Thank you. Director Yazbek?
Yes.
Director Krieger?
Yes.
And I will vote yes also. Okay. So are we in complete agreement that this should maybe go to Infrastructure Committee to come up with the process? If there's an application that needs to be developed, come up with the application, come up with the criteria, and figure out how we're going to let our downtown businesses know that this is out there. Are we all in agreement of that, or does somebody want to offer anything else up at the table?
I agree with that.
Okay, seeing none, then we will definitely do that. Sean, so next we'll maybe have something prepared for us for next infrastructure committee. At least a template, okay, that we can work.
Certainly.
With. Thank you.
I've got
Anything
two
else from you,
information.
Sean?
Mr. Chair, I have one final thing, and that's something that the executive director and I were working on earlier today. It is unfortunately kind of time sensitive, so we were hoping that the board would be willing to entertain it. Mark Lance from Factory Detroit had contacted me and let me know that the licensing for the intellectual property regarding our 2018 ads, such as the music, the TV, radio, and for the holiday ads, was expiring or on the verge of expiring. And he sent us some information that we would need to approve. And then if the DDA was interested in potentially using those same ads down the road at some point, we would have to have the licensing up to date. The licensing for everything that I just mentioned, the music, the TV talent, the radio, comes to a total of $10,160 to renew it for an additional 2 years.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So if the board decided not to renew it, then we would just have to pull those ads and not use it because it would be.
Yeah, I think you've got to refer this to a committee because based on the information I have so far, I can't recommend to you that you do it. I need more information on what the licenses are for and what they're covered. I haven't been able to find any indication in information that I've got from Factory Detroit that we paid for licenses previously. So given the lateness that this came in, I would suggest refer it to the Consumer Marketing Committee, and we can talk to Factory Detroit about an extension in terms of getting this back, but I can't recommend, given the dollar amount, that you move
Certainly.
forward today.
Agreed.
Okay, sounds like everybody's in agreement on this.
As a precaution, I'm going to take those. We do have some of those ads on our website. So just in the meantime, I'll probably just remove those until the board makes a decision on it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tim, did you have anything?
Two items I just want to bring to your information. One was in regards to the comments under public comment in the hanging baskets. Just for your information, as part of the light replacement program, Worry Free's been directed to start removing the hanging baskets and the flowers where those lights are being replaced. And so you'll start seeing some of those coming down. And I didn't want anybody to panic over why they were being removed a little bit early. The second one is
that's just on 4th where they're yanking down the lights, right?
no, that's throughout downtown.
Oh, they're going to start taking
Where your house, Matt?
Wherever we're replacing poles and the old sodium vapor light fixtures, those are all in the way. So it's not everywhere, but it's going to be throughout downtown.
Okay.
Okay.
The second item I had is I want to touch base with you on the October 14th meeting. I've got to go back and I haven't found any reason why that shows up as October 14th. It's a reoccurring meeting, the third Wednesday of the month, and I'm not sure why that hit there. I've had conversations with Carol Swinger, and unless I can see that the board actually moved it to the 14th, your meeting will be on the 21st. So But I don't recall moving
Okay.
it a second.
Director London.
Well, that was my comment. I had no idea about a move on the meeting, and I actually would be out of town at the 14th, but I had it in my calendar for the 21st.
Right.
Okay.
And in my calendar, I have it as reoccurring on the third Wednesday, but it still shows up on the 14th. So I'm not sure there's something in Outlook or the calendar that somehow pumped it to a week earlier. So anyways, well,
I thought there was a holiday that we were moving. So
Yeah, I don't think we didn't adjust very many of the dates.
Originally, I'm looking at, I'm old school. I keep a month at a glance, and I originally had it in the 21st, and we changed it to the 14th. Why, I don't know, but we just, that's all, we did. It was originally the 21st. So
yeah, I'll look through, see if there was some other action, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to bring to the table today?
I just have
Okay.
pieces of good news I just want to let the board know very quickly. Every year, because we're a member of Oakland County Main Street, we get an annual technical assistance allowance. So this past year, we had $6,500. That should be coming in to the DDA to pay for the Rebound website and the intern that was hired over the summer as well as some of the additional website work that was done for the e-cards too. So those have been completely taken care of in terms of expense. The second piece of information is I was notified last Friday by the Oakland County Main Street coordinator that in the future, in future fiscal years for the county, which starts October 1st, our technical assistance will increase from $6,500 to $10,000.
Nice.
If there's anything that we want to do technical assistance wise, and that covers a wide net, we have $10,000 available to cover it.
you can
Thank
use,
you.
you can
Thank you,
use
Sean. Good news.
licensing fees.
So I've paid for my raids, I'm letting you know.
Straight
Okay.
up bonus.
Director Riley, what do you have?
One last thing. So Sean, on the launch for the Siren social media campaign, remember I had asked them that they copy the entire board on the parameters of all of their social media contests, okay? So not only do I need it, but everybody needs it, so they know what's going on, so other people can tag it or do whatever you do on social media, because I'm a caveman. But just everybody's got to get the word out, and the more people that do a quick video, we got $4,000 gift cards up, so that's good.
Okay.
And the other thing that I'll say is that we currently do have another chunk of money still sitting in the YIFTI account, which we had set aside for businesses that we're not getting response on. So.
I do have an update on that. So fortunately, I got a response from 2 of the tenants in the Etkin building. So it is a start. So those cards will be going out in the next 24 hours. It was just this afternoon that I got the emails for the Etkin company in that building.
I just want to alert the rest of the board that we set aside $30,000 for local businesses, offices, and some of the bigger ones, and some haven't responded. We were hoping to kind of get them a little bit turned on by this, and maybe we'd be able to have them, use the holiday gift card program to maybe buy gifts for their employees. So the bottom line is that we got 30,000 sitting there. If we don't use it all, we've got more coming back in that's still sitting out in the budget.
Okay. All right. I believe we've touched base on everything. I'm going to call on Director Krieger.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn by Director Krieger.
Second.
Second by Director Riley. Okay, and the last roll call vote will be Director Krieger.
Oh, man. Mr. Yezbik.
Director Yezbik.
Director Yezbik. Director Rosbach.
yes.
Director Riley.
Yes.
Director Safaya.
Yes.
Director London.
Yes.
Chair Safaya. Sean Kamer.
I think we hit everybody. That motion's going to pass. So I think we are done. I thank you all for your time again, and talk to everybody soon.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.